Hello, and welcome to Moscato and Tea. This is the show for all things beauty, business, and community with your hosts, Inez and Chiquita, keeping it raw, real, and unfiltered. So, morning, lady.
Good morning.
How are you?
I am good. How are you?
I'm good, thanks.
Yeah, you're awake?
I'm awake. You know, you work hard, you hustle hard. You know how it goes.
I know.
So let's get to this. Today, you guys, you know, we're here, you know, at Moscato and Tea. We're all about fun. We're all about having a good time. But, you know, there are things going on in the world that sometimes you have to take a moment to stop and kind of discuss. And so, due to some events, personally, I'm not going to get into too much detail because I don't want the family yet. You know, this is a very new kind of thing, but due to some things, we're going to talk about suicide and how we can prevent suicide. What can we do? How can we stop the stigma of suicide? How can you go about bringing more awareness? We have a lot of awareness of a lot of things, you know, breast cancer. We have a lot of things, but suicide seems to still be that hidden secret. Yes. And a little stigma with mental health. There's just a lot going on with it. And so today, kind of want to bring light to this situation and talk more. So with that said, we're going to go ahead and introduce our lovely guests today that are here to help us understand a little bit and how we can bring more awareness to suicide. So
yes, we have today from the American National Association Suicide Prevention, we have Ruth and Anne-Marie. Welcome, ladies.
Welcome, ladies. Thank you so much.
Excited to be here.
Yes, thank you so much for coming.
So basically, I just want to kind of get into the heart of these things and, you know, how we can as a society and as humans, especially, you know, I know suicide is, it's a big thing. You know, everybody always assumes that it's not going to affect them in some way. They might, but in reality, just like cancer, somebody knows somebody who has been affected by suicide. You really don't really think about it. You do. I know when I was in high school, someone I went to high school with committed suicide. And then, you know, you just kind of hear, and then it just kind of goes away. You don't really ever think it's going to affect you, your family in any kind of sort of way. When it does, then it's kind of like a shocker. So I just kind of wanted to talk about how we can make more awareness. I come just give you a little bit of a background, especially men and women of color, all color. We're talking about, you know, Black, white, Latino, Asians. You know, there seems to be this stigma that, you know, especially in men, that you're macho, you can't speak about your feelings, you're not allowed to be sad. You're not allowed to be depressed. You're not allowed to show your emotion. You better man up and keep things kind of to yourself. And, how do we go about break the cycle in a general way? And then we'll definitely talk about you ladies and how you came aboard and how you all work with the foundation and kind of go from there. And we can just kind of do like an open forum and kind of see where we go here. Yeah. So whoever would like to start.
Well, first of all, suicide is the 10th leading cause of death in the United States, which is scary because suicide is preventable. And one of the things that Ruth and I and AFSP really tries to advocate for and really underscore is we're trying to break the stigma around suicide, because a lot of times the stigma of getting mental health treatment or treatment for mental health conditions interferes with getting treatment for mental health conditions.
Correct.
And that in turn perpetuates a cycle where people don't get the help they need. So, Ruth, did you?
Well, conversations like this are the way to do it. Saying the word suicide is the most important thing you can do. People are scared to say it. They're scared they're going to put the idea in somebody's head, and it's just not true. Suicide breaks down that barrier and allows people to talk about it. I found that so many times when I've shared my story with people. They come back, people that maybe have never talked about it will share theirs. So, you know, the key is just to say to somebody, are you thinking about suicide? Not, are you thinking about hurting yourself, or are you sad? Just, are you thinking about suicide? You will not be putting that's the most important thing we can say. You will not be putting that idea in their head. And if you think somebody's thinking about it, chances are They might be.
And they probably be relieved that you're bringing up the topic because, I mean, she says be the voice. I say talk saves lives. Oh, I also say be the voice.
My shirt.
But it is very powerful. Just bringing up that conversation and allowing people to talk about it is so important.
With that said, it is very shocking. Like, it's one of those shocking, and it's one of those things where you ask yourself, when someone has committed suicide, what could you have done to be there? Or that person didn't show your typical ideas of suicide. You know, they don't really speak a lot, but when you do see them, they're always happy. They're always, or they're projecting like everything is great. And my life is great. I'm in a good point. So how do you know? Or how can you, is there signs, is there signals, is there wording that they might say or conversation that might give you a signal to be like, wait, you just might have caught a word that I might have not catch. And, you know, in regular conversation, when you're just talking to somebody, they may be trying to communicate that they're unhappy, but they're just doing it in a happy way that you might be able to catch.
Yeah.
Well, as it turns out, some people are more at risk for suicide than others, and it can depend on health factors, mental health conditions that someone may have, as well as serious or chronic health conditions, medical conditions that they may have. Also, environmental factors such as stress. Unfortunately, access to lethal means, such as firearms, is something that puts people at risk. And historical factors. Research has found that, for want of a better description, suicide tends to run in families, and so. Like when you go to the doctor and they take your health history, it's important to be open. And when you talk to people, it's important to know that it runs in the family. There are some specific warning signs, and usually they manifest themselves in terms of talk, behavior, or mood. So if you hear somebody say, "I don't want to live anymore. I'm a burden to other people." Why does this even matter? I'm not that important. So people
I can't take it.
Yeah, people will explicitly say, "I feel like killing myself," and never let that go. I would say never let that go, because that type of talk is important. In terms of behavior, you may see someone abusing alcohol or drugs more.
Okay,
doing searches.
That was definitely
Yeah, there's a new software. There's a software program. It's actually called Go Guardian, and it goes on Chromebooks at schools. School districts can purchase it, and it monitors. When you log on to a Chromebook, you have to use a specific logon, and it will monitor and give back to the administration any searches that would indicate that a student is likely to participate in self-harm or looking at stuff, because sometimes people will search for stuff about suicide.
Right. Okay.
Sleeping, changes in sleep patterns, saying goodbye, giving away possessions.
That's a big one.
Okay.
Giving away important,
one of the things,
meaningful possessions.
And you had, I know, Ines, you had said about you don't always see the signs, because, you know, I lost my college-age brother to suicide many years ago. And one of the things we found out afterwards was that he had been giving stuff away, but he didn't say that to his brothers and his sister, because we would have noticed. So sometimes the people that see the signs are not the people. The signs are guarded.
Right.
And there's also changes in mood if you notice someone is depressed.
But there are people that hide it. I mean, there's only so much another human being can do for another human being.
Absolutely.
And if someone's determined to kill themselves and isn't showing signs, you know, you can't spend your life worrying about what you missed.
Right. Correct. I think that's another thing where you just kind of go through and you're like, what could have, should have, how could I, that's the, you know, that as being, you know, if you're like someone who comes from a family of survivors, like, you know, how do you deal with that afterwards? Because, you know, at the end of the day, it does affect, it's just a line and it affects everybody. I mean, here you are, it's been over 30 years and it is still affecting you in a way that you're just like, wow, you know, it's still so, you know, very touching. So our goal is, especially, you know, I know teenagers, adults, you know, it's at this point, I would say suicide does not know race, gender, sexuality, religion. It does not. It does not culture anything. I think that's really important. I think people really need to understand that suicide will affect anyone the way cancer does, the way any other illness that it will affect. It'll affect you in that kind of manner. And I think, like you said, having an open dialogue and talk. Another question of mine would be, if someone who is in the mode or is thinking suicide how could they go about knowing, just realize I know like I said, I know we're a lot of fun and we're a lot of things, but we also are very serious. And we're doing this to let everyone, all of our listeners know that there is another way, that there is help for you. That, I always say this, my motto is this: you were born for a reason and you're here to be in this world, regardless of how you may feel, but you're a soul here to be here to do things. And that, once you're gone, that's a piece of of life and earth and everything that's missing. So to be able to realize that your self-worth is worth being here, is really important. And these ladies are here to help you guys figure out ways. It doesn't matter where country you're in or you're listening at us in or where you're from. Please feel free to find a way to go ahead and get support and help. I mean, we're here in LA. Yes. So we're going to, kind of figure it out here in LA, but I'm sure there's chapters, there's anywhere you can look at that you may find. So somebody out here in LA who's in this area who might be thinking about this and is looking for help, but doesn't know where to reach out because they don't want to talk to their friends or family. How can they go ahead and go about this?
Well, the first thing that I would say that we just as a community need to do is we need to recognize that this is a mental health issue and it falls under a health issue.
Yes.
And just as, for example, when I go out and train schools or communities, one of the things I say is, if you had a fever, what would you do to put your fever down? Right. Would you go for a walk? Would you just try to shake it off? Would you get more sleep? Would you not talk about it? No, you would take active treatment. You would, you may go to the doctor. You may take an aspirin. You may even take an ice bath, but you're going to do something to get that fever down because it is treatable. We need to put these feelings of depression and other mental health conditions. We need to realize that these really are the underlying causes of suicide, and to treat those. There's psychotherapy, there's therapists, there's talk
support
therapy,
groups and
things. There's also treatment, and I liken psychotherapy to physical therapy. If you hurt yourself, you can do more exercises and train yourself and strengthen what you have to be stronger, and medication, just as you would take an aspirin to get your fever down, you can take medication to control some of these conditions. And if we think of these as health conditions and we put it around that frame, all of us, we're all going to be better off.
How is the funding for your organization? How has that come about? Is it just private donations?
Well, we have some of those. Funding? We do a lot of public outreach. We have walks. This is actually our walk season around the country. It's the American Association for Suicide Prevention is a national organization, and we have over 400 chapters in all 50 states. So each one of these chapters has walks, and we all raise money.
400 walks and 80 chapters.
Oh, okay. And then I love that the fact that you said it is a mental health and we need to treat it like anybody else. Like when somebody has cancer, what do? We just go out, we walk, we protest, we try to do everything. They fight.
Exactly.
This is the same thing. If you're mental health, I think I think there's a lot of our government. The funding for all of this, the stigma behind all of this is now not allowing people to get the help and what they need and what it is. So with this walk, let's talk about this walk and how we as a community can help raise awareness and, be a participate and let us know just as important as we have, breast cancer month. We should suicide prevention, mental health.
Suicide prevention
Yeah, this is
month.
suicide.
Yes, this is suicide prevention month.
September. So, this is the time. So,
yeah. Well, the walks are an amazing experience. It's a lot of loss survivors. A lot of people come and bring groups of people and they wear T-shirts. It's really about support.
Right.
And we support each other. That was my first experience. My family, after my mom's suicide in 1985, we didn't talk about it for 30 years. When I went to a walk, I was blown away. I'm like, oh my God, people do talk about suicide. And it changed my life because I was able to open up finally. And so that's what happens there. People walk, people talk, but it's not a morbid atmosphere. It's positive and it's about surviving. It's called Out of the Darkness because that's what we're doing. And the point is to promote suicide awareness, suicide prevention, and all that. So, the best thing to do is show up and learn about it and support it. It's a short walk. It's
3 miles.
3 mile
You
walk.
don't even have to walk.
Yeah.
You can.
and then when this chapter here in LA,
what date is this walk gonna happen?
We have 2 walks in the greater LA area. One is in Santa Monica on Saturday, October 20th. It'll be between 10 and probably 12:30, 10. It's at the Santa Monica Pier, the north parking lot, and then we'll walk through Santa Monica. And the other walk is going to be on Saturday, November 3rd. It'll be at Central Park in Pasadena. And all of our walks, all of our events are free of charge. And when we came in, we have
and then we get beads.
That's why
So
we
we're
get to
going to talk about
and
the beads.
bracelet out of
They're like
the
Mardi Gras beads, but they're meaningful.
Yes. And one of the things, as Ruth was saying, when you go to the walks, you see people who are other survivors, and we all wear different color beads for why we're there.
Yeah, I'm wearing gold because I lost a parent.
I'm wearing orange because I lost a sibling.
We gave you blue being for supporting the cause. And then we have
Silver, first responder, teal for support others, purple for supporting a friend or a relative. Red if you've lost a partner, and green beads, which are really important because these are for green beads are people who have struggled or are struggling with mental health issues or may have what we call lived experience, which is another term for being an attempt survivor.
So that's amazing. There was before we even started, there was a couple of things that you had said that I really want to touch base on before we kind of was words when we were talking about what was it to avoid speaking out about suicide and certain words that to avoid about.
Yeah, well, there are some things that we want to avoid when we talk about suicide. Now, for instance, the word commit, which is a word that it actually doesn't bother me to hear it, but for some survivors it really does. But AFSP, for our media guidelines, has asked newspapers, magazines, online media sources, and these have been accepted by
the Associated Press reporting guidelines.
Yeah. Okay. And we're trying to avoid. They are avoiding, and we are trying to use words as take their own life, die by suicide rather than commit, because you wouldn't commit diabetes, you wouldn't commit heart disease.
Right. And it connotes crime.
Right.
And so it reframes this as a health condition.
Absolutely.
Also, details about suicide methods. Actually, in June, there were 2 very high-profile deaths by suicide.
Yes.
One was covered without discussion of means. The other one went into some very tasteless and inconsiderate and insensitive detail, as far as we're concerned. And we want to focus on the person and that they died, but the means are not. They're irrelevant.
Yeah, it really isn't.
Yeah, and we don't want to glorify suicide as well. It's not Romeo and Juliet. You're not going to be. There is no romance to it. It's very devastating to families, to coworkers, to neighbors, to people who are left behind. It's tough for first responders. So all of these are things we want to let people know that these are serious things. And also there is there is a message that we want to make sure we know that suicide is not a rational decision to a problem. It is not a rational solution. So just as if if you have a fever and you're stumbling, you're not deciding to stumble. If you have a mental health condition and you're having a hard time, you're not deciding to take this action. We need to reframe this as it's not an option. It's something that happens as a consequence of a mental health condition.
Absolutely. And that's where I'm saying where you're meant to be here. When somebody has cancer, they go and they fight and they look out for every means possible to get better.
And they get support.
And they get support system. This is the same thing. You're meant to be here. We need to figure out, show and being able to say there is resources out there to help you with your mental health, and that you have a support group that's going to be behind you to help you get better.
Yeah, you brought up earlier, it kind of went a little to the side, but what can you do if someone's actively ready?
Yeah. And one of the things that I would encourage everyone to do, I have it in my phone, but if you're listening right now, take your phone out and put the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline in your phone. That number, 800-273-TALK, that's 273-8255. That number is not the National I'm in Crisis hotline. That is the suicide prevention hotline. You can call if you're concerned about someone else and aren't sure what to do. You can call if you're concerned about yourself. It is a great resource, and I would encourage everyone to have it in their phone. There's our text lines. There's crisis chat lines. If you are, I do have to say though, if you are absolutely concerned about somebody and think that they may take their own life at any time, do not leave that person alone and call 911.
And the best thing you can do is separate them from lethal means. So if someone has a knife, try don't fight them for it, but try and get them away from the situation where there's danger. And call 911, like she said.
And the other thing is, if someone may not be in imminent danger, but you feel like they may be having symptoms of. I mean, none of us is a medical professional unless you have degrees. I don't know. But if you trust your gut, if you feel like something is wrong, try to connect them to resources. Go online with them. Find a mental health clinic. LA County Department of Mental Health has a number that you can call, which I actually don't have here.
Even the AFSP.org, our website has resources. NAMI, the National
Association for Mental
Illness.
I hope not, but I think
on our website.
Yeah, there are a lot of resources now.
Absolutely.
And there's a lot of national groups.
Yeah, and all this information, you guys, will be on our website and our social media page. So if you aren't sure, you could just go to Moscato and Tea and you can find it and you can look it up, and we will definitely direct you to wherever you are looking for and what you may be seeking.
And we have so grateful for you doing that. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, of course. We have to show love and support in the community of like we would somebody who has breast cancer, or say, hey, you're going to go. This is the same thing. Hey, we have this resource you might not know. You might just remember this and go, oh, they said it on their website. There's more ways to go ahead and find.
And like I said, there's resources. I'm sorry. There's resources for people that are in crisis. There's resources for people that have tried and lived there, and there's resources that have had loss. So, I mean, there's resources for people that have had loss. So, look for what you need because it is out there.
And awesome. I do want to read off the like you were saying, there's resources for survivors of suicide loss. Solace, which is a support group, which is Support, Hope, Listen, Talk, Comfort, Heal, which is going to be it's Saturday afternoons from 2 to 3:30. So if you are a family member, survivor of someone who has committed suicide, you can always go to a support group and be surrounded by people, to help get you support.
And all those support groups are listed on the AFSP.org website. Look for Find Support, put in your zip code or city, and you'll find the closest support group to you.
That is amazing.
And it helps, believe me.
It really does. One thing that's interesting about survivors, being an educator myself, we talk about prevention, intervention, and that's where with almost anything when we talk about any type of medical problem, learning problems. We talk about prevention and intervention. Prevention is keep something from happening. Intervention when it happens. There's a unique term that's used only with suicide, and it's called postvention, and that's for after the crisis has passed. And really, postvention is helping to heal in the aftermath of a death by suicide, because it is, as you said, Ines, it is such a shocking and powerful and life-shaping experience. It has affected Ruth and I. It's affected probably a large group of people.
I believe, I truly believe that there's more people who have been affected by this than what the numbers and what people are saying, because, it's hidden, it's quiet. To know that it is, hereditary. This is for people to realize that mental health is hereditary. Somebody, it might not be your mom or dad, but somebody along the line. We talk about how they do cancer testing. Hey, we can prevent this. Right. I think, like you said, if we start looking at it in such a different manner, and I, at least for myself and Chiquita in here at Moscato Tea, we just wanted to put a little bit out there and say, hey, let's try to change how we view and see suicide, because it is a mental health. This is not this is not a choice. And I think if people realize that people don't have a choice in this is their livelihood, this is who they are, the same way somebody who has cancer doesn't have a choice. It's the same thing.
Absolutely.
So, I just, we're super grateful that you ladies came out here to talk about this. I think we need to have more open dialogue and more open forum, and people talk about this more. This is the only way we can get things moving, and this is the only way we can make things better and change people's perspective, health, the insurance companies and all of these.
And sorry to interrupt, but it also comes down to voting and looking at the people that you have in your government and your different local communities, because you want to have people in government in your local communities that are going to fight for what you need in your community and going to vote on things that are going to help, like mental health and issues and stuff like that. So we got to make sure you educate yourselves on who you have in government and what they're voting on.
Absolutely. So, all of these lobbyists, all these people that are sitting out here talking about, insurance and whatever, make sure that we're getting all of these things covered. Mental health, mental health. It's just a big more, I think it's a lot bigger, but as long as we keep talking and we open dialogue, I think that's, just a start.
Yeah, we can talk about it like we talk about cancer.
Exactly.
Cancer. People used to whisper about cancer. Yeah. People didn't talk about it. In 30 years now,
it's a whole And so that's what And if we could be a little part of that, by all means.
Exactly.
So with that said,
thank you, ladies, so much.
Thank you so very much.
Thank you
guys.
So again, why don't you go ahead and let people know where they can find you as far as your website, all of that kind of social media, anything you may.
The website is afsp.org, and I don't have the other ones memorized, but you can link to them through our website.
And we are the Greater Los Angeles and Central Coast chapter. And if you go to the website, you want to look up our chapter. We don't actually have an office in the area. We're all volunteers. We have a director who works with us. The main office for our whole organization is in New York. I think, Ruth, you may have been there once.
I've been there. It's lovely.
I've been to New York, but never to the office. So we really are a volunteer-led organization, and all the work we do is done by volunteers. And come out to the events, come out to the walks, look us up online, connect with us.
Absolutely. Support your community. And then again, we want to thank you both for being here. We really, truly appreciate you taking the time and us having an open discussion. And then again, everyone, you will find all their information on our website, and all our social media.
Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Pinterest, all that stuff.
All that stuff.
Everything on there so you guys can contact them and just hit us up, send us your questions and concerns and everything, and we will get back to you.
Yes, definitely.
With the right people.
Okay. Well, we want to thank the two of you for actually, you are being the voice. You're being the voice to bring us out of the darkness and help prevent suicide, because every conversation we have prevents suicide and helps someone get help. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you. Bye-bye, guys.
Till next time, you guys. Thanks for listening. Take a little time to enjoy your brand of Moscato and Tea with us every day. Subscribe, rate, and follow us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and MoscatoandTea.com.